What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. Battlefront is one of my favorite Star Wars video games. From charging around on Kadu mounts to decimating droids in an ATTE with your buddies, it's the closest us fans can get to living out our Star Wars dream. Unless, of course, you have a room full of Lego, I guess.
He's right.
Today, I'm challenging myself to bring Battlefront to life and build 3 of my favorite maps in Lego. But that's not enough of a challenge for me. I'm also creating an exclusive mystery map unlike any you've seen before that would make a fine addition to the game. Star Wars video game nostalgia meets Lego. What more could you want? Make sure to execute Order 66 on that like button, and let's get building. I'm gonna start off with probably my favorite map, but I'm not gonna give away what it is just yet. I'm building a plateau in between 2 flights of stairs, and normally I'd build the sidewalls first and then add the stairs, but I'm currently building a massive Megito mock which is eating up all my gray pieces, so I want to put in the stairs first to see how much filler brick I can get away with using without it being exposed. Word to the wise, don't build your stairs from back to front or you might miscalculate where they stop. Now that I know how much of the walls will be covered by stairs, I can add in as much filler as possible, then use my meager light bluish gray leftovers to finish off the plateau. I've been wanting to make this map for a while, and even though I'm building a small version here, I want to revisit this planet on a much larger scale someday. Now I can plate off the top and get it ready for a massive statue to sit on here, which is some kind of robed guardian. I know it's still early on, but if you've already guessed what I'm building, let me know in the comments. Because the front is raised up by the stairs, I need to build a wall around the back side of the mock, and lucky for me, I just got a huge order of dark bluish gray brick for Megito, so I'm gonna snag some of that. Then in go some support pillars, and I can plate off the rest of the mock. The first hint I'm giving is this whole thing is a castle or fortress of some kind, and I'm building the center of it. Now we're going to start seeing more builds that will clue you in on what I'm cooking up here. There'll be an archway in front of each of the steps leading up into the courtyard. And now for the centerpiece of the whole mock, a big old statue. I actually built this a couple of years ago when I first started planning to build this map. The foundations of the mock are done, and it's time to add the finishing layer of plate and tile. I'm starting with the steps and covering up exposed filler brick. There were a couple of spots that were still exposed, but I'm adding in the snow patches to finish the job. There's your third hint, it's a snow planet, but don't worry, it's not Hoth. I've actually enjoyed building snowy planets recently. Building Megito has really opened my eyes to the possibilities of white brick and what I can create with it. There's one vital build left needed to complete this Battlefront mock. Every map has a number of command posts that need to be captured and kept out of the hands of the enemy. It's a hologram that displays various Star Wars faction logos and is either red or green depending on who's in control. I don't have the parts to make a holographic logo, so I'm just making a red pillar and calling it good. I'm once again using my CAC battle droids. I don't know if there's a custom fig I love more. Their posability and detailing elevates any mock they're in, and I feel like I'm sliding down a slippery slope of wanting to build an entire army with them. On the snowy planet of Renvar, a small group of clones is desperately trying to regain control of their command post, while a host of droids is pouring up the stairs threatening to overrun the courtyard. Things were manageable until a dreaded Droideka entered the fray on one side, and on the other these guys are about to get a taste of some wrist rockets. I built the center command post area in the Citadel map where the giant statue sits. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It's bigger than the ones I've been building of late, so I could add more details like that statue, which I haven't gotten to use in ages. I really like how the head looks. The shield tile on the front gives a little detail to the face while still keeping it mysterious. I also like the separation this wall creates. It really feels like you're leaving one room and entering another as you look through it. This next build is for Scott Davis. I love the Bespin Platforms map. It's a series of small and large platforms and landing pads all connected together via sky bridges. This layout creates a really fun challenge, figuring out how to capture the platforms with command post and trying to fly ships onto the enemy landing pads and get behind their lines and cause chaos. Because all the platforms are only connected by these bridges, they turn into choke points where intense battles rage, which is also a lot of fun until Droidekas roll up, then it's time to bust out the rocket launchers. You just have to be careful you don't get too close to the edge. I do have limited space and parts, so I'm going to build one of the smaller landing platforms that are off to the side with a bridge leading down to another platform. I'm going to connect them with this bridge, and I don't want to make a lame plank looking build that looks like it'd be poking out of the end of a pirate ship, so I'm going to add sidewalls and some slopes to make it more interesting and accurate. Surprisingly, the bridge ended up being the most work for this mock, but I knew for how simple this build is going to be with just the 2 platforms, I really needed to make the bridge as detailed as possible. Once it's done, I raised up the 2 platforms on transclear bricks so it looks like they're floating in the air. I don't really have any way to recreate the pink atmosphere, so just put some rose tinted glasses on while you watch. The bridge ended up spanning a larger space than I thought it would, so this is actually a pretty big mock. On the landing pads there are these massive anti-aircraft guns, but my pad is scaled down a bunch, so I'm going to use this smaller gun. There aren't really any accessory builds laying around, so it's time for the figs. I decided to throw in a captain and a clone pilot, I guess. Let me know in the comments if anyone actually ever played with this character. A small clone force has been trapped on a landing pad and is desperately trying to fend off a droid assault with with a droideka entering the platform and rocket launcher B2s hammering their position from below. The clone's only hope is that a nearby gunship can swoop in and clear out the seps. This mock is actually really cool. In my head, I knew it was going to be a real simple looking one, especially with how thin and plain the platforms are. But the thick bridge really ties the two sections together and makes the whole thing look more impressive. The only thing I'd change about this is maybe adding the reverse spire under this platform just to make it look a little bit more complete. This next map is one of the hardest ones and took me a long time to figure out the right strategies to beat it. It's also one of the few maps I can think of that isn't an actual place in Star Wars. The Yavin 4 Arena, a square box with seating up above looking down into a maze of dilapidated walls. This gloomy battlefield turns into a meat grinder real fast, with most of the forces on both teams pouring in and clashing in the center. There are a couple of command posts outside with some vehicles on either end of the map, but the real party takes place inside the arena. I'm building one of the side entrances, which is a good place to ambush enemy forces trying to enter since you can hide behind the walls and shoot through the windows. The problem is the ground area is so small, before too long you end up getting ambushed yourself from behind. I'm just going to build a series of dark tan walls pointing in different directions and tile off the floor. The arena looks pretty old and run down, so I'm going to reflect that in the build with partially built walls and cheese slopes. I do wonder how the designers came up with this map. Maybe it exists in Legends or something. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed playing this one as well. I'm also relishing the opportunity to build with dark tan again. It's been far too long. I haven't gotten to build the ruins of anything in a while, so twice the excitement, double the fun. I have a shell of a build, but it's rather barren and needs some life and more detail. I have a bunch of olive green plants to match the green moss on the walls, which I'll pile up in corners since that's where they would bunch up out of the way of trampling feet. I also added some vines sneaking up the walls. I didn't realize how much I've missed building foliage until I was doing this. I'm on the verge of finishing this bad boy, and I just need to cover the tunnel and hide any exposed studs on the front walls. I was gonna leave it like this, but you could see the ugly exterior of the tunnel behind everything, which really takes you out of the moment, so I built up this main wall to cover up everything. In the game, you can also play as named characters called heroes. I haven't taken advantage of the interesting matchups possible with that, so here's Jango Fett dueling Ayla Secura. I know I haven't been using the right clones or minifigs in some of these mocks, but I love Galactic Marines, so I'm going to use every opportunity I can to sneak them into a mock. The Republic, having just secured the arena floor, thought it was time to celebrate their victory when they were immediately set upon by a fresh wave of separatist troops led by the fearsome Jango Fett. Not only do they have to deal with him, but also a droid who apparently accessed some secret mods and upgraded to a flamethrower.
How do you like the smell of flames?
I had a lot of fun with this one. The vibrant colors of the dark tan and green got me really excited to build, and I crammed as many minifigs as I could, from flamethrowers to ambushing Galactic Marines, and a 501st taunting the enemy by pretending to answer the phone with the head of a droid he just no-scoped.
Hello?
It's hello.
Oh. Hello?
The build itself turned out pretty good for just being a series of walls connected to each other. Jango and Ayla also provide a nice pop of color that draws your eye to the middle of the mock. I think it's time for a custom map. I thought for a while about what this next one could be, since Battlefront has done a good job of representing the various places in the galaxy, and I didn't want to do something like Cato Nemoidia or Corellia that would just end up being another city map similar to what we've already gotten. I wanted to create a unique and fun experience different from anything we faced before. I had to reach all the way back to the very underrated Star Wars movie, Star Wars The Clone Wars, released in 2008. This was our first glimpse at the soon-to-be massive saga of the animated Clone Wars. We got to see many of our favorite characters and vehicles in action, and got to see some cool new places, and unfortunately had to deal with this.
Oh, come on!
But there's one place in particular I thought would be a real fun map to play, and that is Teth. Specifically, the cliffside monastery that gets attacked by the Republic. Imagine a map where you start in the ground as clones and have to use ATTEs and grapple guns to scale the cliff and conquer the monastery. As you're scaling and shooting up at the droids defending the top, there would also be a series of caves you could enter and battle droids in the tunnels to capture command posts and secure spawn points higher up on the cliff. Maybe there'd even be one or two secret tunnels that lead up to the monastery. I don't know about you guys, but I would love to scale a cliff in an ATTE. You could even be a Jedi and do the whole Ahsoka and Anakin leapfrog method to scale up the front. I think Battlefront and other Star Wars video games have been a huge factor in keeping people excited and interested in Star Wars over the years, especially through the dark times of the sequels. Every time I play one, it makes me want to watch the movies or build one of the planets in LEGO again. I thought Ren Var was going to be the only mock that turned out really good, but I was pleasantly surprised with how good Bespin and Yavin 4 look. But of those three, I'm definitely going to revisit Ren Var on a larger scale, but I think I'd like to build the harbor map next with all the giant buildings and cool architecture. Let me know in the comments which of these mocks is your favorite, and I'll catch you next time, but until then, happy building.